And part of the celebration of World Youth Day is getting together as a whole group. So we're talking over 1 million people for an opening mass, and then also to greet the Holy Father when he comes to Madrid, and then for the closing mass. So that's where everybody's together. But then also part of the schedule is you have what's called catechesis. And catechesis is done in smaller groups, and by smaller groups we're talking about, a couple of thousand. And the catechesis is done by different bishops, and we don't know who's going to be doing catechesis. It's done by language groups. And so there are several hundred catechesis sites that we could choose to go to. And for the English catechesis, maybe at least 100 different sites that we could have chosen that the English-speaking pilgrims could go to for catechesis. And catechesis is done by, again, it's done by a bishop, and then the bishop gives us his catechesis, his teaching on some kind of doctrine of the church. And then confessions are available also during that time. And then after catechesis, then we conclude with Mass together. So there was financial preparations, there was spiritual preparations for a good a year and a half before we went to these World Youth Day experiences. Out of all the sites, again, that I could have chosen to go to, I chose the one that was closest to our hotel, and it was Cardinal Francis George, and so the kids really paid attention and learned quite a bit. So I just think that it wasn't a coincidence, it was providence. St. Eugene wanted us to be together. From the U.S., there was groups from St. Stephen's in Miramar, Florida, and also from our parishes in the San Fernando Valley in California. And then also we had a group from Minnesota. And the group from Minnesota was accompanied by Father Dwight Hobricks, and they kind of palled around with us in Texas. They got along with the Texas people really well. And Father Juan Ayala accompanied the California group. They were full of the Spirit. They were very, very excited. Lots of enthusiasm, lots of screaming and yelling, and a good spirit was had by everybody from the entire province. I have a feeling a lot of these pilgrims, when they were first picked, they thought, hey, we're going to get to go overseas, and I've never been on a plane, and we're going to get to see Madrid. And so we kept trying to tell them, all of us, the oblates and the retreats as well, that you're a pilgrim. And pilgrims were being called by the Holy Father to Madrid to celebrate our common Catholic heritage, and that's what pilgrims do. We're not tourists. And so they understand that now, because the places that we stayed in, there were some challenges, lying down or sleeping in gym floors, and we weren't in fancy hotels, and we had Eucharist every day, and so they began to understand this as our time went on, especially, of course, after we left the United States and went over there. And so a couple of things happened. They had an experience of the Universal Church, and they get that now. It's not just the Church of Florida or the Church of Texas or my own parish. It's a much bigger church than that, because they were rubbing shoulders with people from Belarus and China and Germany and Australia, from all over the world. And they got to experience that. So their worldview was certainly opened up. The other thing that happened was they really get who the oblates are now. That to me is very, very gratifying. We talk about oblates and oblates serving in our parish communities, and so they understand now, and they come up to me and they say, Father, I know what an oblate is, as opposed to a diocesan priest or a Dominican or a Jesuit, because they saw all these different kinds of communities also religious communities walking around with their pilgrims in World Youth Day too. So they understand that now. See all this gray hair? Well, let's pray about that. This is my third World Youth Day. This was a lot of work. Was it worth it? Yes, it was. So, am I crazy enough to do it? Sure, why not? But we'll see what happens there.